Hey everyone, and welcome back to ScarletSprites. I know I've been working on a lot of arcade stuff recently, and I've just been really trying to enjoy what is left of summer. So the videos aren't coming out all that frequently, but I did want to say that I appreciate that everyone hangs around for when they do eventually come out. It's just been a pretty busy summer here for me. So let's jump in and talk a little bit about Smash TV today. Now, this is a wild game that is on a lot of people's lists for top 10 arcade games, and if you've ever played it, you probably can understand why. The game is kind of a spiritual sequel to 1982's twin-stick Robotron 2084, a game which was co-created by Eugene Jarvis, who then teamed up with Mark Turmell 8 years later to create Smash TV. Now, if Mark Turmell's name sounds familiar, and it should, it's because he's the Midway genius who brought us the now iconic NBA Jam, amongst some other great games at Midway. So it's definitely well worth noting that this game is truly an all-star team-up of creative talent with Jarvis and Turmell at the helm, but I want to talk a little more personally about this game. So as I noted, Robotron came out in '82, and I was only 3, so not much of an arcade goer at the time, unfortunately. Most of my 80s arcade gaming was done on the 2600 by way of ports until I got a little older and started hitting arcades with friends and older kids that I'd hang out with from time to time. So I kind of missed out on experiencing the whole Robotron thing and the twin sticks when that was really, truly popular. So flash forward to the early 90s and I'm still barely into double digits age-wise, and I can just recall seeing this behemoth of a machine with 2 guys yelling and screaming, appearing to have what was the time of their lives on this cabinet, and I wander over and just watch the chaos of Smash TV unfold on the CRT screen. Now, I was just blown away by how frantic and wild it all seemed. You're just constantly in danger, battling for your life in this game. This wasn't at all like playing Mario at home on the Nintendo or even Kung Fu, which I really loved, and that was just a left and right attack style game. This was you having to defend all compass directions at any given time, and I was just mesmerized by it. So what happened next was intimidating. The one guy quit and the other told me to join in and play with him. And I was just so intimidated by the fact that the machine had these 2 sticks for controls. An arcade machine not having buttons was just a really strange concept to me. The guy gave me a little encouragement and I did jump in. I genuinely was not very good at all. Being mid-game on whatever level these guys were on did not help me out as a beginner either. It just wasn't an ideal scenario to be jumping into. But I do recall that experience very vividly. It was a good time, and I was just excited that an older kid wanted to play a game with me. So truth be told, I really didn't play Smash TV all that much after that. It was somewhat difficult for me in the arcade, and it consumed quarters fast. So I watched a lot, but I didn't necessarily jump in and play too much with other people until a few years later when it was released on Super Nintendo. And once I owned this game for Super Nintendo, I can't even tell you the number of hours I spent with it. Rather than the 2 sticks, you use the directional pad to move and the buttons to fire. The diamond layout of the Super Nintendo's controller make it highly ideal for this game, and I became really comfortable with the setup pretty quickly. As far as time investment goes, this is probably top 5 for me on the Super Nintendo. I played a hell of a lot of this both solo and with friends. This is one of my favorite SNES titles. Somewhat surprisingly, Smash TV was also released on the NES and allows one player to use both controllers' D-pads to play the game. This is a pretty crafty way to get the game ported and playable on Nintendo's classic 8-bit system. So where's all this going? I have a friend who has egged on the whole arcade machine hobby the past few years, so he's always looking for some type of setup that I don't have. He says things to me like, you have a normal 2-player arcade, and you have driving games, and you've got a 4-player machine, you have gun games, you have candy cabs. What's left to get? A flight simulator. No, twin sticks. And when I saw this Smash TV cabinet go up at auction, I knew I was going to make a play for it if I could land it at a reasonable price. I thankfully did get it, and now the work begins to return it to former glory. The largest selling point of the cabinet is the side art. It's by no means perfect, but it is original and in overall really good shape. This isn't a cabinet you should be looking to strip the sides on for fresh new art, in my opinion. You want to go ahead and preserve what is still here that is all original. I've been using a magic eraser and some diluted simple green to gently clean the dirt and stains off the sides, and overall it's coming along pretty nicely. Obviously there are some dings and things that will remain, but some of the smaller areas that are black can be touched up. So again, this is the true centerpiece, or side piece I should say, or maybe I shouldn't say that. We won't discuss our side pieces here on ScarletSprites today. Not that I have a side piece, or is to say that you do, or that I judge you if you do, and that derailed, and we're going to move on to the control panel. The control panel is a bit of a mess like you might expect. Much like the Konami cabinet that I just worked on, the Smash TV control panel was drilled in order to add a 2-player, 6-button layout for Marvel Superheroes vs. Street Fighter, which is the game that it's currently still running. I've already got a really great head start on this though. A forum member on Clav created a reproduction wood panel with metal topper, which Joe Sabo then graciously adorned with his overlay. I then installed 4 4-inch Wicco reproduction sticks, definitely the most expensive part of this project so far. These aren't cheap, they're $40 a pop, and I needed 4 of them. And then I added 2 white start buttons. So this must be the summer of leaf switches. So yes, to keep this as close to accurate as possible, everything underneath here has been fitted with a leaf switch as opposed to the micro switches commonly found in 90s era games. Overall, this thing looks beautiful and is pretty much ready to go now. So that solves the control panel. Moving upwards, we have the glass, which is in pretty rough shape too. You can see there are some nicks and chipped paint underneath. So here is a big spoiler, Joe Sabo to the rescue again. I'm going to replace the glass with this awesome acrylic piece from Joe. This is a reproduction of what was used on the smaller 19-inch Smash TV cabinet. Joe scaled it to use on the 25 that I have here, and I think this is going to look great once added. In case anyone was wondering, I was able to save the Marvel vs. Street Fighter stickers that were under the glass here. These were taped facing forward, so they are essentially in an unused condition and still have their backings on. Continuing with the out with the new and in with the old theme, the marquee obviously has to go here. And brace yourself for another shocker. Sabo's Arcade does a really nice reverse print on acrylic to solve that for me. So man, this whole front of the cabinet should look really great with an all new marquee, new glass, and new control panel when it's complete. You guys know me pretty well. At this point, I've already pulled the monitor and have hosed that down for cleaning. Again, just using some generic simple green to clean off the grime before hosing it down. This will inevitably dry for a few weeks before it's ever used again, so no issues with the water. The only thing to be really mindful of here was I noticed some of the black coating on the outside, the Aquadag, it came right off, and at that point I had to really chill on the water pressure. I just got the rest of the simple green off and allowed this to dry. So I did wash and clean the monitor chassis as well. That will be getting recapped, and I already added new pots to the control board. The T-molding on this is pretty dinged up and beat, so I'll rip that off and replace that with fresh new plastic. Definitely one of the cheaper things to replace on a cabinet, and I do want to call out that this appears to have the darker red T-molding on it currently, similar to what Midway used on Terminator. Probably actually the exact same color. I call it dingy red, and I really kind of hate this. It's so dreary and unappealing in my opinion. I can just look at it and smell the must. So I'm going to make an executive decision here, and I'm going to add a brighter red when I put this back on. Overall, I think this actually matches with the side art much better than the dingy red, and it will give the cabinet a brighter and newer feel to it. As for the inside of the cabinet, I pulled out the Marvel vs. Street Fighter board, and wow, this was definitely installed and then never touched. The shell on this is just incredible. It's nearly perfect and super clean. I'll swap the battery out on this to make sure that it stays alive, but I'm torn on keeping this as a spare or selling it off with the marquee and bezel stickers right now. And aside from that, the inside of the cabinet just needs to be cleaned. It's super filthy inside, but nothing that a shop vac, rags, and some patience can't handle. I have high hopes for this one. I think it's going to turn out really nice once it's had the TLC that it deserves. So that's the first look at the Smash TV arcade machine that I picked up. Been trying to hold off on starting work on it until the Konami was finished, as I don't like to have multiple machines apart on the floor at one time. It just becomes really messy, really fast, and I start losing my sanity. But there are some other small things I want to do for this, and I'll be working on it over the next few weeks to try and get it back up and running. The G.I. Joe is certainly looking pretty good and just needs a few final finishing touches before I can say it's done. But then it's full steam ahead with Smash TV, and hopefully I can get it wrapped up and have another cool game, or games, to play in this twin stick cabinet this fall. So stay tuned, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will catch you all next time. Later, guys.